All right, chapter 12, working with tables. Tables you will use throughout HTML. Like I said, you may, as you return lists from a database, put them in tables just to make them organized nicely. Like I said, in the old days, I used to use tables to lay my screens or my pages out. Luckily, they have Bootstrap and Flexbox and all that fancy stuff now to do that for you, so you don't have to worry about using a table to do it. I guess technically, if you still wanted to, you could use a table to lay it out, keep it a little bit organized without having to try and figure out columns and rows and sizing and stuff like that through Bootstrap or Flexbox. The objectives: use HTML to create a table with merged cells, captions, headers, and footers. Use CSS and CSS structural pseudo classes to format the tables that you create. Use the HTML figure and fig caption elements to treat a table as a figure. Use HTML attributes to provide accessibility for tables. Use media queries that make tables responsive. Describe these components of a table: the rows, columns, cells, header cells, data cells, table header, table footer, and table body. Describe the proper use of tables. Describe the use of table attributes for accessibility, and describe the use of media queries for making tables responsive. So right here, it's just a simple table with basic formatting. You got the table headers up here. The book they have aligned to the left. Year published looks like it's centered, and sales is aligned to the right. They have the background of the cells colored, and then just your text. And it looks like the cells that aren't colored in are also to the left, to the center, and to the right. So as you're putting text in these cells, you can align them to have them go to the left, go to the center. You can have them go to the right. Depending on the size of the cells, you can have them aligned to the top or the bottom of the cell if you need to. Most of the time, you just make it big enough to hold the data into it. And like I said, this technically could come back from a database by book, the year published, and the sales amount, and then put them in a table so you can kind of see what goes on with them. The HTML for a table before it's been formatted. So when you look at a table in HTML, we've been using these element tags all along. Well, we use them again for this table, and you can see we open a table by using the element tags there. And then we close the table again after we put all our data in it, and then close the table with the closing slash table like we've been doing with all these elements. It's nice, you see table, you know it's going to be a table. You got a TR here, which means it's a table row, so that's adding a new row into the table. And we'll take a look at it here in a bit. We'll do a demo of it, or make a couple tables, we can take a look at it. And then you see the TH class here, that stands for table header. And that TH is this table header here where it says book, years published, and sales. That's just telling you it's a table header. You can see class left. That makes that text of that book go to the left. Years published and sales. And then once you put your data in your table row, you close out your table row. So again, it's an opening tag, closing tag, table row, table row. Again, they're going to make a second row. This table row here is going to say PHP and MySQL. This TD stands for table data. That's the stuff you put in the cells for the data part of it. So if we go look at our example, the TD class are assigning it, making it move to the left again, and then we'll see PHP and MySQL. There's that table data, PHP and MySQL. The year published is 2017. Sales 372,000, and sales 372,000. So whatever you put in these TDs shows up as data in your tables. Pretty easy, straightforward. Here they do more. The dots are just saying that they're putting more data into it. instead of typing it all out, just an example. And then finally you have another table row, TR table row again. They have a table header down here, and it's called total sales. Total sales, they align it to the left. They have a blank cell in here. There's nothing in this table data cell, and these are considered cells. If you hear me say cell, that's what I'm talking about, is one of these blocks here is a cell. And so this one's empty. You can see they leave it empty. And then they have another table data, and that's 1,399,000. That's that 1,399,000. And that's just a pretty basic table right there. They have table bodies, they have table footers. In a real world, you don't see them used all that much. Mostly it's just your table row, and your table data. But if you want to get more specific, you can put those table header, table footer stuff in there. We used to never use table footers, the THs. We didn't use those a whole lot. Most of the time we just bold the text or whatever that we were putting in there, but now they have these table headers that get used a little bit more. Table in a web browser with no CSS formatting. You can see it's just pretty basic stuff. No lines or anything on it. Table with a header, body, and footer, and this is what I was just talking about a second ago. So you have a table with a T head on it. That's your table header. You got your table row with your table header information in here, and then they close out that table head. So it's just a way of semantically, I guess, would that be semantic since it's T head instead of table head? But anyhow, it's just a way to break up this table so you can see the different parts of it. So you know this stuff is all in the table head. The rest of this is in the table body, and you can see again they open up the tag with the T body. They close it with that /T body to close the element. Table row, all the table data in it. And that's just all this stuff here, the table data. And then they put this footer down here. And again, it's T foot, close T foot, and then you have your table rows and your table header and data in there. And that's all this stuff is at the bottom. So it's almost like when you create a web page and you use the header section, the main section, and the footer section. That's what it's pretty much doing, but just doing it inside a table. So you have your head, they call it body instead of main in here, and then they call it foot, which is that footer that you would have on your main page. Table with a header and footer, and you can see it bolds it using that header and footer. Common properties for formatting tables. Table, TR, what's TR stand for?
Table row.
Yep, table row. TH, Dominic, what's TH? Table header, yep. And TD is table data elements. So you can use border collapse, border spacing, again padding, text align, that moves it to left or right, and this vertical align that moves it top to bottom depending on how much padding and spacing you put in between all this stuff here to get it to move around. CSS for a table. Here they call in the main element of the table. They're telling it a border, one pick solid black. Border collapse, they're collapsing the border on it. The table head and the table data, they're putting a border of one pick solid black around it. The padding is 0.2 EM and 0.7 EM, and again when they only have the two, remember this is the top and bottom, this is left and right. And then text align, they're aligning the right to the text. The TH with the class of left, the TD with the class of left, they're text aligning it, the text to the left. And then the T head, the T foot, they change that background color to light green. And the T foot, they change that font weight to bold. So that's kind of how they style this here is what the styles is for that. And you can see the formatted table, just like we were talking about.
So what does the border collapse doing there?
It will, there's nothing in there. If the row is blank, it just collapses the table down on itself, so it kind of gets rid of that row. And you can see how this here, it has it doubled, and that collapse also makes it go.
Okay, so like collapses it so that all the borders like mush into each other.
Yeah, so it's like,
that's what it means.
yeah, so it looks like one solid border kind of a thing instead of each cell being,
Still having its own border.
yes,
into one big structure.
yep, instead of being stuck out like that. CSS structural pseudo class selector. You have int child, int last child, int of type, and int last of type. I haven't seen the int last of type or int of type used very much. The int child you'll probably use, the int last child you use. Most of that is just getting the cells so you can, as you're creating tables, and you'll notice when you look at them, or some of the shopping sites, if you have a table with a bunch of rows, they'll be like gray, white, gray, white, gray, white. This int child and this int last child will kind of help you set up the coloring on them. And you can see like this odd and even. You use that a lot to set up multicolored rows or alternating colored rows. You'll use these odds and evens. So like the first one's considered an odd, the second one's an even. You have an n, a 3n, a 2n plus 1, and a 3n plus 1. Don't see these used much. Most of the time it's going to be odd or even just to get those rows colored in. And I'm guessing there'll be an example coming up maybe. So here, CSS for table formatting without using classes. They do a TH first child. So under the TH, the first child under it, the TD, the first child under it. They're going to align the text to the left. T8 int child, the second one, and the TD int child, the second one. They text align center, and so you can see how they have it to the left and to the center is what they're doing there with those nth child ones. And then the T-body, TR int child, even, and the background color is yellow. So you can see the even ones, that's an odd, so it's not going to be colored. The even one is a yellow. The odd one doesn't get colored again. The even one, 1, 2, 3, 4. The even one gets colored yellow again. The fifth one does not, and the sixth one being an even child of the T body, it gets colored yellow again. So like I said, that's where you'll see these evens and odds get used more often than not. You see the int child getting used a lot to get these classes to color them properly and stuff for you. But like I said, you don't see this nth last of type or nth of type used a whole lot. Most of the time it's going to be this child or last child. A table within a figure, and I don't know, I've never seen it used like this. Most of the time it's just a table, and you can see they put a heading on it above everything to make it kind of look like an image in the web page. Most of the time you don't see that in the real world. Most of the time it's just going to be a table, and they used to put on top of the table here, this would be another row up here a lot of times. And when we'll get more into it, you can take these rows and span them across the columns. So you can have like one solid row going across these 3 columns by doing a colspan. We'll get to that. And then you just put the text up on top of there, and you could name the table that way. The table within a figure just tries to set it up like a figure. We did that a little bit with the images a few chapters back when we used the figures in those chapters. The HTML for the figure and fig capture elements. Again, same thing, you use the figure, fig capture, or fig caption, put the title of the table in that you want there, close that fig caption element, and then put your table in there, and then close your figure element out. So pretty straightforward. Like I said, just exactly the way we did those images a few chapters back. But like I said, you don't see this used a whole lot out in the real world. CSS for the fig, your fig caption elements, just like we had been doing. Name of the elements, giving it margin and padding. Figure, you're giving it a border, width, padding, fig caption, displaying it in block. Again, displaying a block just puts it in its own row of text. Font weight bold, text align center, font size 120%, some padding at the bottom of it. And then you have your table, border collapse, border 1 pick solid black, and the margin 10 pick auto. I haven't done tables in a while, but you used to never have to put all this border collapse in this. I guess you did have to do 1 pick solid at times, because there's a lot of times, like if you get a lot of tables in, you'll want to color them different colors so you can kind of see where you're at with them and what you're actually manipulating on them. So you may have to do that at some point in your life working with tables. A table merge cells, and this is what I was talking about, this sales part going across the top here. And this book, so this book here is going to have like a row span of 2, because it has this, the row span will be 2, because it's going 2 rows, 1, 2 rows, and that way it goes the height of the 2 rows by using a row span. This is a column span. It's saying column span. We want it to span 4 columns, so that'd be a column span of 4. That way it gets it to stretch out and look nice over these tables, instead of having all kinds of different cell borders and stuff like that going through it. And again, right here, that table header, it does a row span of 2. 1 row there, 1 row there, so that's a row span of 2. The other one, the sales, has a col span. Again, a row is a row, a col span is a column. Has a col span of 4, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's spanning those 4, and that way it's one solid row technically, that's spanning 4 columns, and that way it looks nice and neat, kind of a clean look to it. And that's all you need for those. CSS for merge cells. Here's that TH first child again, vertical align bottom. They do it on here. Yeah, so you can see the book here gets vertically aligned to the bottom instead of staying in the center or the top of it. So that's where that vertical align will come in. You can do bottom, top, and I believe center is the other one that you can do. Yeah, bottom, top, and center. And then the TH in child 2, text align center. So they're text aligning in these cells, the second one's into the center. And then TR in child 2, the TH, text align right. And you can see these headers, they move them all to the right. Table that provides for accessibility. You can put the caption up top, and for people with visually impaired, it reads to them and tells them kind of what it is as you go through. I've never had to do this in all my years of coding, but you may go to a company. Like I said, I had one company I worked for that we did have to use some of this accessibility stuff. Was it for, I don't remember if it was for seeing impaired or hearing impaired people. It had to be seeing. And so you do the caption, put the caption up there. You can put your IDs in here, and it doesn't hurt to put IDs for the elements, especially if you need to access them at some time or another. Then a scope is a column. Headers, and that's for the TDs. You can do the headers for the PHP, and that's like getting the idea of the book and the book here, so they know they're tied together. So you get this header book here, and this way it tells it that the header's for the book, and that's what it ties into, is that book. This header year ties into the year it's published, and then this header sales tie into the sales. So you could do that if you're trying to provide accessibility for the hearing or the visually impaired. And then again, the ID is the header total, and it's saying it's going to be a row going across instead of a column going down. And then the header for the header sales is the HR total, HDR total, and then it puts that total in there and can read it out to them. But like I said, I've never had to do this in a table before in my life, so I guess it just depends on where you work at. So table after it's reformatted for smaller screens, and this goes back to this flex box, this bootstrap stuff where you make it responsive, so that way if it stretches across the screen and you shrink it down on a phone or something like that, it stacks it up nice and neat. That's another thing I never worked with in all my life, but back in that day I did a lot of this. They didn't have any kind of phones to use. We were just switching to tablets. That's how long ago it was. And I don't even think they made it responsive then. I think they just left it whatever size it was. But it's nice. It gives it a nice clean look. And here's the media query for it. And we, just like we've been working with the media queries, the max width at 479 pics. Make your TD and TH into a display block. The table header, none, so they get rid of that table header. So they get rid of this book, all this stuff they get rid of. And you can see they just have the actual row, the name of the book, the year it was published, and the price of it or whatever that was, the sales amount. So TR, the TD first child, the font weight bold, font size 110, background color light green. That's what they're doing here. The TD is the first child of the TR. The TD is the first child of the TR for that, because they hide all this and get rid of it so you don't see that part of it. Display none, that's where we're saying the weight. Table body TD, border bottom style none. Table foot, background color white, border none, border top 1 pick solid black. You can see they give that solid black there. T foot TH, T foot TD, nth of type 1. That's it there. And like I said, I've never had to use it before. Nth of type. Let's go see what that actually means. The nth of type selector matches every element that is in the nth child of that same type tag name of its parent. N can be a number, a keyword, odd or even, or a formula like plus B. So nth of child type 1, so whatever that first nth of child is, I'm guessing here, is bold, 110 and light green. No, bold. Unless they just pick that up. I guess that's the type, is the font weight. So they pick up bold. Don't worry about the other parts of it. Interesting. So it does bold it. So like I said, I've never used this in all my years of coding. It's always been this first child or nth of child is what I've always used. So I had to practice with that a little bit. Enhance a table. And they just make it yellow and do the odds and evens going down here. Here they got a couple row spans. Down at the bottom they got a colspan going across. And one of your labs, I believe it is you're going to recreate these tables here. You're going to redo this one and this one. This one's using that fig capture up here with this employee table. So should have these slides out there. You may have older slides, and if you do, it's going to be the very last two slides on the older slides. Or I can take a screenshot of this and put it out in your repository if need be. So there's not much. Two tables, they're pretty straightforward. Like I said, so you can just go in here, do table, TRTD, two, three, four, five. Save that, open with live server. And you can see it goes there. Throw a style sheet up here real quick. See, it puts border there. Just copy and paste these in there. So we got two columns. Let's set them up here real quick. Borders all the way around. Border collapse. Padding. We'll do 20 pixels. Let's see how light that makes it. Actually, I don't want it there. There, you can see it spaces it out. Should be border collapse. So you can see putting a little padding and stuff in there kind of spaces out, makes it look neat. And this should kind of look wonky because we didn't put enough table headers for all the columns. So yeah, you can see it looks wonky because we didn't have the right amount in there. So if you see your data or your columns or something all shifted out of whack, check and make sure you have your columns properly set up. And then we can do get rid of everything. Oh, didn't close. That I did? I did. Did I do these wrong? I thought it was TH. But anyhow, that's how you set up a table. It's pretty straightforward. Just have your table rows, and your table data. And if you want to put your headings and stuff in there. I guess that switches it around because it goes down. There it goes back. So that's put my TH first as they go down. But that's how you, and actually I put a comma in there. But anyhow, that's how you set up a table. Pretty straightforward how you do it. If we want to take this out, save it. We got the blank in there now. And what we can do is our 9, we can do a colspan 2, and that should clean it up. And you can see how it spans over those 2 columns like that. We could get rid of number 6. Or was it 1? Rowspan 2. And you can see how we can get that number 1 to stretch down the 2 columns like that. So like I said, it's pretty straightforward. You'll probably be using these most of the time you're coding HTML out one way or another. So, and then we can do even background color of red. You can see those are our even rows. These are odd since they're all in that first one. That's technically in the first one, and these are all in the second row, which would second row would be an even. If we switch this to odd, actually of our odd ones. Of course, row number 1 is an odd number, so that's why the first rows are yellow. Row number 2 is even, so that's why they're even. If we added a third row on here, those come out yellow again because they're odd numbers. 1 and 3 are odd, so they're yellow. Number 2 is red, so they're even. To get that cleaned up, put a 3 in there, and now we got it cleaned up again. So that's pretty much it with tables. It's not too hard. Sometimes it can get kind of complicated when you're doing a bunch of row spans or column spans here and there. The nice thing is with this TR nth child even and odd, it makes it easy to color your columns and rows however you want to have them. It used to be you'd have to code all that out. In the old days. It makes it gray. So not too bad. Any questions or concerns?
We say we mainly use it for the majority of our HTML. How so?
Just as your career, as you're doing like front end development, you'll be using tables a lot in it.
I like a lot of ways, but we just want to wait to find out. More than likely, just wait to find out.
Yeah, so let's go take a look and see if I can find fairly straight. Actually, we'll use Rankin and see if they have some tables in here. Control F for find. Here they're calling some jQuery and Ajax stuff for table. There's 7 of them. I guess that's all 7. So here's a table right here. They have a table set up. What is it? First semester holidays. So this table here that we're looking at, there should be a calendar on here, some kind of events. Right here, this is what that table is that we were just looking at. So instead of putting it in a list and having to worry about the bullet points and all that stuff, the bullets, it's just easy to put it in a table. That way you can keep them nice clean rows and everything like that. So again, we're just looking at the code, and this is a nice thing about this view source thing or inspect page, is you can see all this. So here they have a TD, and then they just put these paragraphs inside a TD. So they got one row, one table row that they put in. They put a TD with some styles in it here, and that's an image that they're using there. So guessing this here is what that is.
Must be.
Yeah, and then another one, and then they put a bunch of paragraphs in it. And then paragraphs, you can see summer semester begins, Juneteenth, summer semester begins, summer semester begins, Juneteenth, summer semester begins.
Wait, is it June what now?
What's that?
Second part, wait, is it June what now? No, it's on the home page. It was like our school holiday.
Yep, Juneteenth, June 19th, we got another holiday coming up. I think it has something to do like is it Black History or Black Independence or something like that. And then 4th of July, we have another vacation coming up. It's going to be a nice another 4-day weekend for us.
Well, luckily for me, I'm taking my PTO.
Are ya?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for that Friday because I want to know nobody would have come to work on Friday. Like Friday was just, we ate so good, now we sleep all day.
So you can see they have some other TDs in here. Doesn't look like they're really doing anything. Another TD in here. That does have a little bit of something in it. Just background color, so maybe that's the red. Nope, I thought maybe red bars. So you can see tables are used in most websites somewhere or another for one thing or another. Just depends on what they're using them for. You can see here they have a list right above it that they're doing for their nav bar. And so you can go look at almost any web page out there and you'll see somewhere they're using a table. I don't know if this would actually work on this page. So they're writing the table there. So if you just go look at a web page, somewhere, somehow they're using a table. That's how often you'll probably end up using them one way or another in your HTML coding lifetime and stuff like that. So